Greetings, fellow stealth game enthusiasts. Remember me? I'm still alive, I'm fine, and I thought I might make some recommendations of stealth games you should try to pick up if they're on sale. As you've probably gathered by now, I'm not using a script. I am very much giving you my free, unbridled thoughts coming out of my mouth straight from my head. It's not going to be pretty, but it's going to be informative. There are lots of smaller stealth games out there that just do not get the signal boost that they deserve, in my opinion, so I'm going to shout out some of my favourites, and feel free to add yours in the comments section below. When it comes to recommendations, there are no wrong answers, there's just stuff that I think you would like, and stuff that I would caution you against if you're of a particular mindset. I'm going to be throwing a couple of those in for good measure, you know, keep things spicy. And to kick things off, we're going to start with Acid Spy. There are lots of words that come to mind when I think of Acid Spy. Difficult, obstinate, grueling, unforgiving, infuriating, and yet compelling. One of the things that separates Acid Spy from other stealth games that I'm going to be recommending today is that it is unapologetically designed for the most hardcore of hardcore fans. Like, if you enjoy stealth where the objective is go into this room and clear out all the guards and make sure that you're not seen, otherwise they are definitely going to kill you, this is the game for you. I can't describe it any other way. It's a weird combination of a speed run and stealth, and for some of you, this is going to be a magic combination. You are going to love it. For the rest of us, including me, we're gonna hate it. I'm sorry, I couldn't get on with Acid Spy, but I totally recognise that it has an appeal, and the appeal is to a certain segment of the stealth gaming community who just hone in on perfection. There's another YouTuber out there, V339Man, and he has done a series of videos on Acid Spy that are just insane. Like, he has done the ghost run of Acid Spy. How do you do the ghost run of Acid Spy? What's wrong with you? Are you a sadist? Is this a call for help? Okay, we're gonna go into the normal side of stealth gaming now and talk about Aragami. Aragami is Tenchu if Tenchu was less about the combat and more about the stealth. There's a video on my channel where I talk about Aragami's stealthiest boss fight. Definitely go and see it if you want to get an idea of what Aragami's about. A lot of what Aragami does is focused around, can you kill all the people in this level? But also, can you leave all the people in this level alone? There are some truly entertaining powers you can pick up. You can blink from one shadow to the other, and the whole dynamic around Aragami is that you are weak in the light. You can't use a lot of your powers because the light drains your energy, and in the dark, your power recharges. More than that, some of your powers are dependent on you getting kills in order to fuel them, and so that makes things interesting. If you take out an enemy in a way that's slightly easier, then you have to find an enemy to take out in a more difficult way to balance things out. Ultimately, it's a game about being a shadow ninja, and you can't jump, but trust me, this is worth experiencing. It is absolutely dirt cheap when it goes on sale, and you can get the special edition which has extra levels and extra characters with new shadow powers. You can summon dragons and panthers and general creatures from the shadows to devour your enemies in gloriously over-the-top stealth kills. It's really good. Basingstoke. Despite the boring name, Basingstoke is probably one of the best stealth games I played, and it seemed to just vanish when it came out. Nothing went right for the developer of this game, and I feel that that's one of the biggest injustices of the indie scene, that sometimes great games can come out and they just disappear. Basingstoke was one of those. When it goes on sale, this is worth the money. I've made an entire video on why Basingstoke is good. Go and watch that. Absorb the knowledge that when you buy this game and sit down to play it, particularly if you're playing it near a certain holiday season, you're going to have a good time. The audio design is fantastically realised. You get unique sounding enemies, and in spite of the cute little aesthetic they've got going on, you really do fear for your life in this game. If you're not into horror, or you don't like gameplay that's particularly unforgiving, you might want to give this one a miss. However, if you persist with it, Basingstoke is one of those slow burn games that really draws you in because you discover things you can craft and tactics you can use to thwart the enemy, and it's some of the most tense, gut-wrenching survival stealth I've played. If you want to play a stealth game that has consequences when you screw up, look no further. This is the game for you. When I first looked at Deadbolt, I was skeptical of whether to lump it in with other games in the stealth genre, and after a lot of thought, I've come to the conclusion that I don't care if you think it's a stealth game or not, because I get to play as stealthy John Wick and go into a place where I find only the worst kind of people and gun them down indiscriminately because the forces of nature have decided that these things need to die. We've got ghouls, we've got zombies, we've got demons, we've got weapon variety. It's sneaky Hotline Miami if Hotline Miami was about infiltrating the house and deciding where you were going to start your killing spree first. And again, very difficult but just compelling, because you screw up and you can instantly restart a level and not mess up the thing that you did. The whole point for each level is to find the optimum route to spring an ambush, basically. You can use vents and sewer systems to get around. You can turn off lights to attract enemies' attention into a room and they can't see you until, haha, surprise! And then it's a case of, do you move to a different area? Do you take cover and try and shoot your way out? Do you use a vent to escape? One of the things that irritated me about Deadbolt is that throughout the game you collect souls, and you can use these souls to buy guns for the Reaper to use on his missions, and the game deliberately doesn't have enough souls for you to complete your collection of guns. I want all the guns, Deadbolt. All the guns. I want to fire everything and learn what works for me. Why won't you let me fire all the guns? Regardless, Deadbolt is a fantastic game and you should definitely give it a try. It costs close to nothing when it goes on sale. Can you show me another stealth game where you travel as smoke through a sewer pipe up to a toilet and explode whoever's sat on the toilet? No? I didn't think so. On the other side of the spectrum we have Ghost of a Tale. Now, Ghost of a Tale looks better than most AAA stealth games manage to look, and I don't know how the developer has managed to do this. I gather that they were an animator, a 3D artist, so that explains a lot. The protagonist, Tilo, a mouse, a dormouse set in a world full of rat guards and baddies that are generally out to make your life difficult, looks adorable. Look at this fella. He's just delightful. The way that he moves, the way that everything around him is so beautifully lit and colourful. I'm kind of gushing about this already, so let me refine my points a little bit. The stealth is very basic, however, the whole point is that you cannot confront your guards. You have to run around a prison island and accomplish your objectives through subterfuge and dialogue and stealth and a little bit of puzzle solving. On top of this is a disguise system. You can collect outfits, different pieces of gear that have stats for stealth and for stamina and for speed even, that Tilo can use to engage with characters in different ways. So if you meet another mouse and they think that you're a legendary thief who's been chained up inside the prison with them, then they'll be more inclined to help you find that missing item that you need to get past a certain bit of the game. It's an absolute delight of a game. It's like Metal Gear fused with the Tales of Redwall series. Deeply immersive, thoroughly engaging, delightful. It has a stunning collection of environments, some of the best writing you're going to see in a stealth game ever, and you need to try it. You need to try it. Gunpoint is one of the classic 2D stealth games released in the 2010s. The best way that I can describe Gunpoint is to say it's cyberpunk being ambushed and clobbered to death by film noir, because the film noir flavour just wins through in the end. You get into buildings and you have to hack into their systems, and that includes for their lights, their alarms, their cameras, and this is how you infiltrate. This is how you, as a stealthy protagonist, have to go around and accomplish your objectives. Rewire lights to open doors, rewire doors to turn off lights, rewire plugs to shock guards into submission, ambush guards, punch them into unconsciousness, avoid them altogether, get to your hacking objectives, and find all the information or intel that you need. The little conversations that you have between missions are hilarious and compelling in equal measures. There's just something about the way this game is written that speaks to me. It has far more going on than a lot of fully voiced mainstream stealth games. Gunpoint is a milestone in the 2D stealth subgenre, and if you haven't played it, it's time for you to play it and understand why that is. This game made a lot of noise when it first came out, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's already in a lot of people's libraries, but Invisible Ink is what you get if you decide that XCOM was good, but it needs more in the way of stealth. Again, there's a lot of cyberpunk themes going on with this, lots of corporate espionage. You have to assemble a team of spies who are going to infiltrate and dig information out of a building while trying to avoid being captured or killed. There are some nice, unique things about this as a stealth game, so there is no way for you to ghost, at least on a basic level, the game through, regardless of whether or not your people are spotted or how many cameras they disable. The building gradually becomes aware of your presence and the alarm level will rise each turn, until eventually the building security is throwing guards and drones and activating security cameras and all sorts of countermeasures. Personally, I like to tweak the game's settings so that the alarm level doesn't rise, just because I am trash, but hey, you can play the game as it was intended to be played. There's a nice rewind feature where if you completely mess up a turn, you can switch the clock back to before you took it. There are prevailing consequences in that if you totally mess up a heist, then that is time and resources you have committed to a project that you didn't get the most out of. The game starts with a timer, you have a limited number of days to go and get stuff done, and if you don't get stuff done, then you're not going to be prepared for the final mission. Again, like all the settings, there are so many options in this game. You can increase the number of days available to your team. You can even tweak it so that you just do continuous heists, one after the other, and never have to deal with the final mission. Hey, that's fun. I did that for a while. It's fun to build a team with optimized equipment, gear, and personnel, and just keep on infiltrating buildings. I burned through many hours on Invisible Ink, and there are so many clever things about how it does its stealth, like the peeking through doors concept, where you're just looking at the other side, making sure that there are no guards or security cameras that are going to clock you when you make an entrance. You have team members who can hack their way through the system, you have team members who can kill guards really easily. The one thing I will say about Invisible Ink that is very clear from the outset: if you want to go through this game and just murder your way through security, it's not really built to do that. The game is very clear that lethal means are less advantageous than non-lethal means. It is easier for you to knock down a guard and pin them to the ground than it is for you to shoot them, because if you shoot them, then the alarm level goes up and you're going to be facing even more. And while you can say, I want to face more, this is not XCOM. You are not indestructible. Your agents are incredibly vulnerable, and if they get taken out, then you have to drag them to safety, which in itself is a hell of a challenge. Just don't do it. Work with the non-lethal system. This was actually made by the same team who made Mark of the Ninja, which we're going to talk about shortly. Like Mark of the Ninja, the visuals and the music and the sound effects are just chef's kiss. They are beautiful. Clay Entertainment makes some fantastic games, and Invisible Ink is a must-buy. If you have Mark of the Ninja and haven't played Invisible Ink, you do not know what you're missing. Give it a go and see what all the fuss is about.
Excellent work, operator. Now to sift through the data and find the juiciest targets.
If you're of a certain age, I'm going to assume that you've played Mark of the Ninja already. This is not directed at you, okay? I know that you've played it. You know that it's good. I don't have to sell this game to you. Feel free to skip to this point in the video where we'll talk about the Marvellous mistake. For the rest of you, let's talk about Mark of the Ninja and why it's awesome and why you should play it. This is a game I recommend to people who are not typically into stealth games, because it's so good at making you feel like the sneakiest ninja assassin in the world. The story is straightforward enough. You have a clan, they are attacked, you have to go and find the people who attacked you and kill them all. Everything that you've ever imagined a ninja can do, you can do in this game. Hanging from ceilings and using chains to strangle your enemies, throwing shuriken to take lights and security systems out, using traps to lethal effect or distract your enemies. And of course, lots of gory stealth killing to boot. You earn upgrades throughout the game based on how well you perform, and there's a lot to activate on your journey. So much so that you might want to start the game again once you've finished it, just to try and use all the toys you've accumulated. In terms of the tools available to you, the mobility you have in the game space, and the audio-visual cues that are needed to understand where you are in a stealth capacity, Mark of the Ninja sets the gold standard. It's the game that a lot of 2D stealth games took their cues from. I did a video a while back that looked at various independent stealth games like Mark of the Ninja that brought 2D stealth into the fold of stealth gaming, and if you want to see more of why Mark of the Ninja is so good, I would happily recommend you go and watch that. But if you're looking at this footage now and thinking, ooh, that looks fun, it is fun. It is fun, and you should try it. I'm not going to lie to you, the Marvellous mistake is rudimentary, but still very solid stealth. The basic idea is that you're infiltrating various galleries across, I think, London, and you have to steal art, deeds and bonds and cash, depending on what character you play as. Now, the first character that you play as, Sophia, has gadgets and things that she can use to distract and befuddle guards and get past areas. There's another character who is like her, but slower, and he has only one gadget he can use. I'm not entirely sure that his levels are the most entertaining thing to do, because you're basically doing what she does, only slower. However, the third character, Daisy, is a speed demon, and she has to steal keys from guards, so you're interacting with the AI in a different way than you would if you were Sophia or the other character whose name is Harry. Both Sophia and Daisy have to unlock things that can set off alarms, and this means that you have to employ a bit of strategy by distracting guards and trying to get them to move to areas of the level where they're not going to catch you once the alarms go off, because when you get spotted by a camera or you break a display case, alarms will cause guards to just hurtle towards your location like bullets. You have to be quick, really quick. You're not going to see a huge variety in level design, and I can't really care to remember the plot if even there is one. It's very solid, well-presented stealth, and sometimes that's enough. The Marvellous mistake entertained me for a few hours while I finished all of the levels and completed quite a lot of the challenges. Worth buying at sale price? Absolutely. If you've got a kid and they need something to play and you think, hey, maybe they should try a stealth game, The Marvellous Mistake is a perfect thing for them to get into. There's zero violence, you have to think about your problems, and you get some variety in the guards because later on dogs turn up and they can sniff you out if you're not careful. Yeah, a solid, well-presented stealth game. If you've ever played a stealth game and thought to yourself, oh, this is too difficult for me, I can't be bothered to quick save all the time, well, Shadwen is definitely up your street, because Shadwen doesn't care about quick saving or quick loading. Shadwen gives you full control over time. If you make a mistake, you can rewind time to the point at which you didn't make the mistake, and that's probably just as well, because Shadwen's mechanics are just a little bit janky, you know, like, they're good. You can shoot a rope out and climb and get to high ground and use your tools to knock over crates and barrels, distract enemies, and generally make a nuisance of yourself. Shadwen has all of the classic stealth game things going for it, and it doesn't mind that you know it's kind of cheap. If you want to complete Shadwen, it's going to be relatively easy to do, because the system is built for you to cheese it. All of that being said, if you want to go through Shadwen and try to kill or avoid killing every enemy in the game, that's a challenge. The basic idea is that you're escorting a girl through a castle on your mission to kill the king. The catch of the whole situation being that this girl is not a thief or an assassin. She has to be guided through all of these levels where guards are looking out for people, and that means that you either get the guards to be distracted and move out of her way so that she can proceed, or you kill them so that she can proceed. And here's a fun thing. The girl you're escorting is not aware that you're an assassin necessarily, and if you kill a guard and leave the body for her to find, then that will change how the narrative of the game works and how this character responds to you. It's not going to be in a massively deep way, but still it's a nice thing, you know? You have this escort mission that you're doing, and you're trying to avoid her seeing all the bodies that you might be piling up. There's nothing particularly outstanding about the story, it keeps things moving along very well. You have a lot of tools that you can build and use to distract and befuddle and kill guards with. And ultimately, the levels are far more interesting, or at least I found them far more interesting than those in The Marvellous Mistake, because they have verticality to them. There are sections where you have to get to high ground, and you can then perform drop assassinations on guards, if you have a mind to do that. I don't know why more people haven't played Shadwen, and to be honest, more of you should. It's a decent stealth game. Speaking of decent stealth games, Sir, You Are Being Hunted is one of my absolute favourite things to have come out of the indie scene. Let me pitch it to you. You are the only human on a collection of islands who has to scavenge objects of mysterious power that are being guarded by aristocratic robots who are hunting you. While you're on the islands, you can explore desolate towns, castles, industrial landscapes, marshes, forests, all sorts of places where humanity is no more. Now you can start the game with a few different characters, and some of them come with guns or food or other tools for survival. But my preferred character is just your standard aristocratic idiot who has nothing, and you have to go and scavenge everything you need from local areas. When you find a gun and bullets to go in it for the first time, it feels great because you know that you can maybe get yourself out of trouble if you need to. But the big emphasis in So You Are Being Hunted is on staying as hidden as you possibly can from all of the nasty things that are out to get you. And those things include a wide selection of robotic foes. So You Are Being Hunted is a masterclass in tension and soundscapes. You really do feel like you are outmatched and outnumbered, and the question is, if you decide to engage your enemies, you need to figure out whether it's favourable for you to do so. Like, what are you going to get out of this encounter if you choose to alert the local robots by firing your weapon at them? You might find ammo, you might find tools, you might find bandages or food. Maybe you'll find a piece of the experiment that you need to retrieve in order to get back home. You might find nothing. I'll only add that there are a number of ways you can deal with the robots, which include using fire to distract them from an area, trapping them and making them vulnerable to melee attacks, or using stuff you find along the way, which include things like alarm clocks and even things like toy trains you can set loose on the landscape that make whistling noises. It's kind of hilarious to do this and then see robots running towards an area that you've just filled with leg traps. All that's certain is that as the game progresses and you accumulate more and more of what you need, the enemies ramp up, you start getting introduced to absolute monsters like the landowner. Let's not talk about the landowner. I don't want to spoil the landowner for you, but he is, in the words of Keanu Reeves, breathtaking. Add to that a save system that's very restrictive. You can only save your game when you reach a boat to take you to another island. And you have one of the tensest, most interesting, immersive first-person stealth experiences that you can get. Moving on, we have another classic 2D stealth game from 2011. It's Stealth Inc., also known as Stealth Bastard Deluxe. There's no reason why you should not have this already. If you enjoy 2D puzzle platforming, then this adds stealth-based elements to that formula. The puzzles range from being able to sneak past cameras undetected and activating portals, trying not to get crushed by giant obstacles, shot by drones that detect you with their lasers. It's all very cheerful, kind of gory stuff. But it's also presented with a lick of humour. So if you're of a particularly sadistic mindset, then Stealth Bastard has a lot going that will entice you. This game even has boss encounters. Gigantic machines whose notice you have to find a way to avoid while opening the door to the exit. It made lots of noise when it came out, but I think that people have kind of forgotten Stealth Bastard, and so it's worth me reminding you, if you don't have this game in your library already, pick it up on sale. It goes for literally next to nothing. It's challenging, uncompromising. If you want to have a game with stealth-based elements where you're not allowed to mess up even a little bit, Stealth Bastard fits that bill perfectly. Like its predecessor, I think Stealth Inc. 2 fell by the wayside for a lot of people just because I think it came out on Nintendo platforms first and then was later ported to others. It's got everything that Stealth Inc. had, but it has the knobs turned up on everything. Story, graphics, gadgets, challenges, and there's Metroidvania in this one too. The first game was a series of challenge rooms. In this game, the challenges take place within a building, and you get to explore that building and unlock more of it as you discover more gadgets, and push your way through to confront your adversary. I don't want to say too much about the story because I'm kind of spoiling the first game as well as this one, but it was nice to see. The two games together, Stealth Inc. and Stealth Inc. 2, make a cohesive single narrative about these little guys in green goggles running around challenge rooms. If it sounds silly, that's because it is, but I love it. The gadgets are fantastic. My favourite is the Inflator Mate, which you can use to do these massive jumps across a level. But there are others too, including a light gadget, a teleport gadget, even a clone gadget. There's also a hacking gadget which enables you to take control of robotic foes. All of these gadgets are put to different uses throughout the test chambers, so the mechanisms within this game are far deeper than they were in Stealth Inc., which for the most part relied on just figuring out how to get from one point to another without getting detected. So yeah, if you didn't like Stealth Inc., I would say maybe Stealth Inc. 2 is something you can try, because it's different enough and improved enough that I think it counts as a better version of what Stealth Inc. was trying to offer. It's more refined, it's better. Stealth Inc. 1 was still bloody good though. There's honestly not a lot more I can say about the Swindle other than if you have not tried it, you really should. This is a stealth game made by someone who doesn't like stealth games as they traditionally appear, which I know isn't the greatest pitch to give you, but it does mean that there is a slightly different take on the genre from his perspective. There is lots that I could say about this game, but to be honest, I've said most of it already, and I did an interview with the developer to boot, so fire up those videos if you want the full introduction to what this game is about and why I think it's quite special. The best way I can describe it in brief is to say it's a 2D smash and grab simulator with roguelite elements. Each level is randomly generated, you have to steal enough cash to try to build up your character to a point where they can go and raid Scotland Yard to steal the ultimate in police technology that police can't be allowed to keep. You have a limited number of days to do it. Each heist costs a day, that's whether or not you live or die, so make sure that you live. If you steal above 80% of loot in a level, then you give yourself a bonus multiplier, so that means more cash. A lot of it is balancing whether you've managed to be just greedy enough, or if you're getting a bit too greedy and probably should step back and not raid that heavily guarded vault. The upgrade system changes how you can approach jobs and obstacles substantially, adding things like more bombs, bigger explosions, tools you can use to hack robots and turn them to your cause, EMPs that can disable security, hacking skills that enable you to break into the security systems that govern the more difficult levels. And this is to say nothing of the mobility upgrades that include things like extra jumps and controlled descents, safety upgrades like being able to launch a smoke screen that blinds enemies to your presence, even cheekier things like a remote detonator that you can use to clear away traps and explosives. The sheer number of enemies in the Swindle is astounding. You have so many enemies in this game to contend with, and while some of them follow a basic template that just gets more advanced, every time you get to a new area in the game, you encounter stuff where you just you look at it for a good few minutes and just think, what? What the hell is that? How does that work? And it just becomes so compelling to try to understand how you move around each level and get past the challenges it throws at you. Perfectionists, if you want to give yourself a challenge that will set your heart racing, try and finish the game without dying once. I'm sure many of you could do it, if you put your minds to it, so what are you waiting for? At sale price, this game shouldn't be a difficult purchasing decision. Wildfire is a stealth game made by a developer who loves stealth games. Look hard enough and you can see the influences other stealth games have had on its design, but the unique thing, the absolutely beautiful thing that Wildfire does, is give you a greater degree of control over your environment. And it does this by giving players elemental powers. First of all, fire. Fire is destructive. Therefore, you can use it to burn through obstacles in your way, create barriers that enemies are afraid of, obstructing and choking guards with smoke, and generally disrupting the natural order of any given game space. Later on, you get control of earth and water, and I'm not going to spoil all of the powers that you can use, but there are a lot. There are a lot of powers you can use. It's kind of like someone looked at Avatar and thought, yeah, that's a cool story, let's make that into a stealth game. But here's the important thing, it works. We have a range of AI behaviours that just feed into the gameplay in really interesting ways. It is possible to make guards run away from you, chase you, fall unconscious, be terrified of you, investigate the area, and last but not least, it's possible to just kill them off. Sometimes in ways that you would never have thought of doing that are actually quite creative. Obviously you can engineer circumstances where you just burn guards to death, but trust me, there are many, many more. Wildfire's level design is handcrafted to present you with all of the different options you can use, and just let you go for it, really. Obviously at the beginning you're kind of limited because you only have access to fire-based powers, but later on when you unlock more, you're able to come back and complete level challenges like speed runs and rescuing all the villagers. Oh, you rescue villagers. There's a bit of Abe's Odyssey in here as well. Your village has been burnt down and your villagers have been scattered across the continent by the forces of the Archduchess. And your job is to sneak your way through the Archduchess's forces, rescue as many of your friends and fellow villagers as you can, and take the fight to the Archduchess as you unlock your full elemental powered potential. When Wildfire launched, I knew I would like it, but I didn't realise how interesting it would be to really dive deep into its systems and uncover all of the different ways I could mess with the game space. This is a stealth game that's very much focused on the systemic nature of stealth games. Interlocking systems between the AI and the player, the pull and the push of different mechanisms. I've played it for 20-something hours, I've done multiple playthroughs because when you go through the game for the first time you unlock as many skill points as you can to unlock all of your elemental powers, and there's just not enough to unlock everything, so you have to go again. And it's not a chore to go again because you get all of your powers from the beginning and you can complete the challenges and find more stuff generally. There are magic charms you can pick up that give your powers different kinds of effects, adding yet more layers to a system that, quite frankly, is already really complex and interesting. And I haven't even talked about how gorgeous this game looks. From its carefully crafted backdrops to the character animations and even the little touches like the symbols over enemies' heads that tell you what state of awareness they're in. Wildfire is a stealth game where you can quite literally shape the course of the world and burn it all down. And out of all the games I've talked about, this is the youngest, so I completely understand why you might have missed it, but don't. This is a love letter to stealth games, and if you want more details on why I think that is, I have a very nifty video talking about all of this stuff from last year. Go, watch, and then put this game on your wishlist. Oh, and it has co-op too, but I've never played the co-op because I'm too busy enjoying it by myself. I'm selfish that way. Wow, that was a lengthy recording. Thank you very much for watching. If you've made it this far, it's much appreciated. If you have thoughts on what stealth games people should pick up when they're on sale, put those thoughts into the comments section. Don't be shy, put them all in there. I'm keen to hear about your interest in stealth games. Have a wonderful day, and I will see you in a year when I release my next video. Probably.